What recent closings reveal about today's restaurant buyers? Restaurant buyers do not all enter the industry the same way. Some grow up around restaurants and wait years for the right opportunity. Others come from different careers and bring new skills to ownership. What successful buyers often share is clarity. They understand what they are buying, why it matters, and where they can take the business next. Two recent closings handled by We Sell Restaurants brokers show this from different angles. One took place in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where a wine bar found a buyer who had dreamed of restaurant ownership for years. The other closed in Wylie, Texas, where a two-store franchise transaction required careful coordination, strong communication, and cooperation from every party involved. Deal 1. A wine bar with heart in Fort Smith, Arkansas. By Team Tyson, We Sell Restaurants, Northwest Arkansas. The Fort Smith seller came to restaurant ownership after a career in education administration. He and his wife were following a passion for wine, hospitality, and community. Together, they created one of the most distinctive spaces in the Barling and Fort Smith area, with thoughtful design and a welcoming atmosphere that reflected their vision. When the seller was called back into education, operating the restaurant while managing a full professional commitment became too much. He was not selling because the concept had failed. He was ready to hand off something he cared about to a buyer who could continue building on what had been created. The buyer was a natural fit. He grew up around the restaurant industry, with a family connected to a branded restaurant concept. Owning a restaurant had been a long-held goal for him and his wife. When they found this opportunity through We Sell Restaurants, they saw more than a wine bar. They saw a platform with room to grow. The surrounding area had expanded quickly, moving from roughly 5,000 to 10,000 homes in just 2 years. The business primarily operated at night, leaving room for day-part expansion, events, and additional programming. The venue already had a strong identity, and the community connection was real. That connection showed up immediately. Within minutes of taking ownership, a group event booking came in. Customers arrived to welcome the new owners and buy a bottle of wine before the business had officially reopened. The community already loved the place. Team Tyson helped match a seller who built something with care to a buyer who had spent years preparing for this opportunity. In community-rooted concepts, the right buyer is not always the one with the highest offer. Sometimes it is the one with the strongest commitment. Deal 2. A two-store franchise, closing in Wylie, Texas, by Jason Coleman, We Sell Restaurants, Texas Frisco. The Wylie seller came from a logistics background, bringing systems, discipline, and operational focus to restaurant ownership. He built 2 co-branded franchise locations in one of the fastest-growing corridors in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and operated them well. His decision to sell was not a retreat. He had identified a new restaurant concept he wanted to develop in his hometown, and he knew it would require his full attention. Selling these 2 locations made his next chapter possible. The buyer came from an IT background and evaluated the opportunity with a structured, analytical approach. 2 co-branded locations in a growing Texas market gave him market presence, proven operations, and scale from day one. For a first-time franchise owner, that mattered. The stores offered profitability, brand infrastructure, and a seller who remained engaged through the process. Instead of starting from scratch, the buyer stepped into an operating platform with systems in place. The deal itself had multiple layers: 2 stores, 2 landlords, and 2 lenders. Each part of the transaction had to move forward at the same time without delaying the others. What made the closing possible was communication. The buyer and seller participated in weekly conference calls throughout the transaction. Both stayed available. Both worked through challenges as they came up. In a 2-store franchise deal, complications are expected. Cooperation is what keeps those complications from stopping the closing. Jason Coleman managed the moving parts while keeping the deal on track. His role was not only to coordinate details, but to keep momentum, communication, and confidence moving in the same direction. What these deals have in common: one buyer fulfilled a lifelong hospitality dream in Arkansas. Another entered restaurant ownership through a structured franchise acquisition in Texas. The stories were different, but the lessons were the same. Sellers who exit with clarity create better transactions. The Fort Smith seller was stepping back from a business he loved because life required it. The Wylie seller was moving toward a new concept. In both cases, honest motivation helped create cooperation, trust, and a smoother path to closing. Buyers who understand the full opportunity move with conviction. The Fort Smith buyer saw a beloved local concept in a growing market with untapped day parts and event potential. The Wylie buyer saw 2 proven franchise locations with operating scale and support. When buyers understand what they are really acquiring, they are more likely to stay focused through the natural challenges of a transaction. Brokers who stay engaged make the difference. A community-centered concept needs the right buyer. A multi-unit franchise resale needs organization, communication, and experience. In both closings, the broker helped connect the right parties and move the deal to closing. Every week, restaurants change hands across the country. A seller is ready for the next chapter. A buyer is waiting for the right opportunity. A We Sell Restaurants broker helps bring both sides together. Frequently asked questions: how does a seller's reason for exiting affect the transaction? It affects buyer confidence, lender confidence, and cooperation. When a seller is exiting for honest, forward-looking reasons, due diligence and negotiations often move more smoothly. What makes a 2-store franchise deal more complex? Every major part of the transaction is multiplied. There may be 2 leases, 2 landlords, 2 financing processes, and 2 sets of closing conditions. Strong communication keeps everything moving together. What should buyers look for in a concept with untapped potential? Look for the gap between what the business is doing now and what the market can support, including expanded hours, events, catering, marketing, delivery, or new revenue streams. How do I get started with We Sell Restaurants? Visit WeSellRestaurants.com to connect with a certified restaurant broker. Browse current listings or request a confidential restaurant valuation.